All right, it is day 14 of my losing streak. Everything I touch seems to turn red. Every trade I take tends to go negative. Today we're going to find out if I can turn that losing streak around. It's not looking good, but I think I have one more trade in me. And yes, it is a live account. Let's get started. Alright guys, we're back for another live trading video. I'm taking a look at CAD Swiss here, and I actually just picked up a long position. I bought 255,000 units, which is 2.55 lots, in case you're not familiar with units. But that sounds like a lot, but CAD Swiss is a really low volatility based currency pair. So the thing is about this pair is it doesn't tend to move a whole lot. So usually when I take a trade on CAD Swiss, my position size is going to be a little bit bigger than if I were to trade something like pound yen, dollar yen, the more volatile currency pairs out there. Regardless, I just picked up a long position on this currency pair here today as we came down to a support level that I have been watching for the last few days, and finally we're getting that retest. You can actually see I wanted to buy CAD Swiss over here, but we didn't come down into my zone. So today we officially did. We are coming back down into this area, and although this looks a bit scary here on the lower time frames, when I scroll out, I do know that the upward trend here is kind of what I'm willing to bet on. I'm looking for this continuation play. I'm looking for a move back to the highs, and we have very, very clear ideas of where price could go if we're correct about this trade. We have a move potentially back to the previous high here at 75.55 and the ultimate high at 76.13, which if that were to happen would be an incredible trade. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. This is live trading, so these are real trades. It's real profit. Whether I lose or win, I'm going to film the whole trade so that you can see it. So here's the thing. There is a technical reason for the trade, basically a pullback here to structure. We had this big move after breaking out of this supply zone. I'm basically looking at it to treat it like demand, right? So on a retest, we're buying demand and looking for a continuation play here. Now, if we do get to a point where maybe I trail up to, we get into a point where it's a 1-to-1 risk to reward, I may go ahead and take my stop loss and move it to break even. I'll have to feel out the trade. Basically, the plan is once this thing starts moving in my favor to trail stop. You'll notice I don't actually have a strict take profit on my trade. My purpose with that is looking to see if we can get a bounce, riding it up with a stop loss behind, but ultimately letting this trade run if it decides to do so. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself, so I'm not quite there yet. Let's talk a little bit more about the reasoning behind why I entered into this position. Here's the A1 EdgeFinder. This is our proprietary trading software, which I use on just about every single trade that I take to help me find better ideas, better flows in the market. And this is a software that we do, it is a product that we have for sale in our website, a1trading.com. Our software team has put this together and worked extensively to build this. But basically what it does is it takes a conglomerate of several different factors. We have, for example, COT reports, interest rates, retail sentiment, seasonality, trend readings, all of these things you've probably heard in isolation, but this tool actually combines them, creates a bias, and helps me find direction with my trading. So for example, we can take a look at the score of 6, and that's basically a conglomerate of all of these. So if I look at COT data, for example, the CAD is a strong buy considering that institutional traders are very long. This is based on the Commitment of Traders report, which is filed once a week here in the US. Then you have CHF, which is super short biased. So putting that into perspective, the big money is shorting and buying CAD. So putting that into perspective, it gives it a very strong buy rating on CAD Swiss. Interest rate divergence, there's a strong bias here towards buying CAD, shorting Swiss franc. And the reason for that is that the Canadian central bank offers a much higher interest rate than the Swiss National Bank. So putting that into perspective, we have a +1 in that category. Retail sentiment is neutral as traders are literally 50-50 on buying and selling when it comes to this pair, so that doesn't help us out too much. Seasonality this month, historically, you can see at the bottom of the screen, this is a measurement of how historically this pair moves. And during the month of April and in May, we tend to see a positive CAD Swiss. Not a guarantee, but a added confluence, an added seasonality factor to going long on the pair. And finally, trend strength. We have a strong upward trend, which gives me another +2 towards buying the pair. Putting that all into perspective, again, going back to the chart, we are long. We've got 255,000 units open to the long side. We'll see if we can make some money on this trade. I'll pause it and come back once things get moving. Okay guys, so a couple hours has passed since I initially took the trade, and looking at the 1 hour chart, you can see we very clearly saw a very strong reaction off of this support zone. Demand did come rushing in, which is awesome. So CAD Swiss starting off well. And what I love here specifically is that if we zoom into this price action here for a second, you can see that this morning we kind of had a big flush to the downside, right? So this candle came in really, really strong to the sell side, coming in early in the New York session. And then we basically came down into support. And this is kind of the cool thing about the higher time frames and using the trend to your advantage. We came in really strong there and rallied off of that level with follow through in the next candle, and then the previous hour still strong, looking like we have a little bit of a normalization move coming in now. But what we have here is we have the basis of what I would call a good start to a trend. Now this is by no means done. We are floating $900, of course. That's good money, don't get me wrong, but it's not ultimately what we're looking to get out of the trade. Ideally, if we can get more, then we will. And that's not a place of greed. The thing is, it's just okay, the market has clearly reacted well, but this is just a nice entry point. What we're looking for is a follow through move at least up to 75.56, which is that target that we talked about. If we can get that move to play out, then excellent. This would be a great spot to be in with CAD Swiss. And ultimately, the bigger picture is, can we get a move beyond that level and on up to 76.13? Now, again, that's asking a lot. That's a major move, but the entry here was very tight. You can see that we missed the bottom by 4 or 5 pips. Tight, yeah. On a swing trade, that is not bad at all. So happy with that. Now I have not yet moved my stop loss. I would like to see price do a little bit more before I do so. See if we can get above this zone here, and ultimately if we can start making a move on up to this area, I'll look to really start trailing in that stop loss. But for now, where we currently are at with the trade, we've reacted well. Again, if we scroll out to the 4 hour chart on the basis of where we took this trade, you can see clear rejection off of this area. Beautiful little sell into that move, and then finally finding the buyers that we were looking for in this area. And this is the cool thing about price action is, when you have a plan and you wait patiently for a setup. You guys heard me say this earlier. I was waiting for this setup for a few days now. We missed it back here, but now came back, tagged into that area, grabbed a little bit of the stops that were probably underneath there, and have rallied past that to a nice rebound on this move. So again, floating about $900 on the trade. We'll see if we can get more out of this. Again, the ultimate goal would be to see if we can start getting up to here, and then really if we can get a move back to the previous high, we'd be really cooking with gas. But let's not get ahead of ourselves again. We'll pause the video, take some more time to let this trade play out, and come back once we've made a update or made a significant move on the trade. All right, guys, so it is time to update this trade a little bit. So a little bit of time has passed since I initially or last made an update, and some cool stuff has happened. We've actually seen a really impressive rise. We are floating at the time of recording around $1,700 in profit, and I think it's time that we take some risk off the table. Groovy. So here's the thing. I think CAD Swiss has potential to hit my previous high target that I made on this yellow line here, right around 76.18. We've actually hit the recent target here, which was my cue to really start at least taking risk off the table. So after seeing that move up, it's time for me to go ahead and take this trade and lock it in to break even. So here on TradingView, a lot of times, again, I get the question of how can I trade on TradingView? It's because I use Oanda, and Oanda is integrated with TradingView, meaning that you can trade directly on their platform, which is really cool. Oanda is by no means the best broker out there, but it is certainly a good option for American traders, in my opinion, because we're pretty limited on our options here in the U.S. Unfortunately, the was it the Dodd-Frank Act? There's like a big act that they put into place which severely limited retail trading in terms of leverage and things like that. So we don't have access to a lot of the other brokers that people have, but that's another topic for another day. Basically, I use Oanda. I'm able to do it on TradingView, which is cool. I'm happy. Honestly, I love that feature so much because I don't like having to switch to MT4. That's, just for me, it's just personal preference. But anyways, the goal here now is to see if we can break this level. Now this spot that we've marked on the chart is meaningful because we have the previous swing here where we saw a lot of sell pressure come in. Now on the rerun here, we have made some higher highs and some higher lows. So this is looking optimistic, but the real meat and potatoes of this is, can we actually get a breakout? And the answer to that question is, I don't know. And that's the truth about trading, right? The markets are far less predictable than people give them credit for. A lot of times technical traders, they'll tell you that the markets are, they have some super secret strategy, and if you just use this, you're going to make money. But for me, what works and what has worked for years is being less predictive and more reactive. We have seen what we wanted to see out of this market. We've seen a really great reaction out of this 74, 76 area where we took the initial buy. We've also seen higher lows and higher highs. So based on what we are seeing, we should probably still stay in this trade. At least that's how I'm taking it. Now you might make the argument, and in hindsight, if this thing comes all the way back down and stops me for a break even, the hindsight trader inside myself would say, well, Nick, you saw it hit resistance. You should have sold it, or closed it. But again, in a market uptrend, and we're looking at something like the daily chart here, when we're in an uptrend and we see markets rallying, we can't assume that it's going to break here and just fall back down, right? Could it happen? Sure. But we are not going to try and anticipate the market's next move. This market is trending higher. We've found a good entry. We've found a good support level. Now we have to give the market credit. We have to give the market a chance to continue to break structure back in the direction of the dominant trend. The only way we're going to let that happen is not just taking profits just because we hit a target level, right? This target idea is just, for me, a clue to go ahead and lock in some stops in case this thing breaks down. Because if the market tells us that, okay, actually we're going back down and we're not going to respect support anymore, then that would be the market telling me to take a break-even trade. And when I say break-even, in this case, $73 a profit is what we would get. I don't know why TradingView does this where they put a negative in front of it, but trust me, the stop loss is above. We would make $73 approximately on this trade. So that's where we're at. We're floating $1,800. We're sitting at a key decision point, right? We are letting the market answer the question, can we break this structure to get us back to previous highs? So that's where we're at with the trade. What I'll do is I'll pause, give it some more time to play out, and come back soon. All right, guys, so we have definitely cleared target one here, and things are looking really good on the CAD Swiss trade. You can see we're floating down here on the account about $2,700, which is a really good trade for this account. This is definitely bigger than my average win, so I'm in a good spot with this CAD Swiss trade, and happy to see that it's playing out the way we were hoping for.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
What I'd really like is that the entry here, man, I'm going to keep bragging on it for a little bit longer. That was a heck of an entry, and usually my entries are not that good. So I'm full transparency. I'm surprised by how good it was as well. But we ended up holding that support level to the T, rallied, and since then have been forming these higher lows. And that brings me to the next point. How are we going to manage this trade from here? I think it's time that we lock in some good profit on this move. Now, do I think that this move is done? I think it has more room. We've made a clear statement here this morning, which is really cool. We basically rallied off of this previous target. And this is how you know your target seems to be in a pretty good spot. The target here, that level of resistance that we came into here this morning, we broke past it and then held it on several occasions. Really strong bounce there off of that today, and clearing the highs, which is exactly what we were looking for. So at this point, what I think I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and take my stop loss here, and I'm going to modify it to basically lock in a good portion of the trade. So now at this point, we are locking in just shy of this supportive zone. Again, I don't want to see price come back underneath that. At this point, I'd really like to see this thing rally up to the previous high. If that happens, then we'd be in a great spot and we can really start trailing some stops on this thing and locking in some gains. But for where we're at, I'm going to go ahead and lock in at least $1,800 on the trade, which is, a really good spot to be in. I will not complain about locking in $1,800. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and modify this. You can see it is changed on my account here now. So we have locked in that amount of profit. So we're in a good spot. So from here on out, what's next? The market has a decision to make. And this is, if you start watching my videos for long enough, you're going to hear me start repeating myself. I am like a old man with this stuff. Like, it's just rinse and repeat. The market now has a choice to make. Is it going to rally on to the highs, right? Which we have our next major target at. If we scroll out, you can see that's our next major target. Are we going to hit that next major target? Or are we going to come back down to support? And this is the if-then statement. You guys, if you know me well, I am a programmer by trade. That's what I went to school for. And so for me, it's a lot of if-then statements. If the market rallies on to here, we're going to trail that stop. If the market comes down to support, we have another if-then statement. So now we're getting all confusing. If this comes down to support and holds, then all good. We do nothing. Basically, we don't do anything until this market either comes up to here or it stops us out. If it stops us out, we're out of the trade for 1,800 bucks. We'll make our money and be happy. Because granted, you know, part of me could have said, oh, I should have taken profit back here. You know, a lot of times I'll take, you know, or I'll be tempted to take a profit, and then the market just, you know, rallies on without me. And that's exactly what would have happened had I just taken profit here. So we have a chance now to see if this market wants to continue on with its strength. There's no reason for me to just sell right now or close my buy trade right now. Unless the market tells me that it's time to get out or it's time to rack in more on the stop loss. So that's where we're at. That's the trade that I'm currently in. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and update members who are following along with what I'm doing here, not necessarily copying the trades, but the trade that I take, I always make sure to update what I'm doing and why I'm doing it within the private Discord channel. If you're not already in the Discord, there's a link down below in the description to join. And let's also do one more thing. I want to go ahead and take a look at CAD Swiss here from a summary view and just get an updated view on the EdgeFinder, see what's going on. This is a large component as to why I took the trade in the first place, is the A1 EdgeFinder. So this thing has a strong buy or a buy reading still. And again, several factors at play here. Looks like we have a little bit of an error here. I'm gonna actually have to point that out to the developer. He's working on COT stuff right now, but we still have a strong bias there and looking good overall. By the way, my stock portfolio, just a little bonus material for those of you guys who are deep in the video here. Look at this. Yesterday or the other day, I had a massive down day, $8,000 down on my stock market portfolio. The stock market was coming down really, really crazy. And that's also the same time that I was able to get that dip buy on CAD Swiss. We've since rallied back. Today is looking good. We're up 2,400 bucks on this account. Now a lot of this stuff is longer term and more investments, but I have taken some trades in here as well. My Facebook trade is going really well, 680 bucks right now. That's nice. So I feel like it's a really busy time in the markets. That's just my my personal take on it, but we're in and out of some of this stuff. And right now, CAD Swiss, like I said, we've got a good situation here where we can't lose money. We can only make money if it goes higher or make money if it breaks down to the downside. So what I'll do is I'll pause the video, give it some more time here, and we'll come back soon. It looks like we officially made it to the moon, guys.
The moon. The moon.
All jokes aside, we did officially make it to the previous high here, which was our target in yellow. And it's kind of unbelievable how well this trade has gone. And the reason I say that is because I take a lot of trades. Some work out really well in my favor. Some are losses. Some are small wins. It just kind of, there's like a bit of variance within the trading world. This trade has played out exactly how I would like it to, and it's rare that that happens, and I can imagine you guys probably feel the same. It's rare for a trade to just do everything that you wanted it to do, and in this case, we found the entry, which was very, very strong spot. We rallied, came on the way up to the initial target. We chopped around there, didn't go much further, so we were allowed to stay in the same trade without having to stop out or re-enter or anything, and then we exploded off that onto the previous high. So at this point, I'm going to take this for what it is. Am I going to just take profit and close out of the position? No, because again, that's not how I made this profit get up to $3,700. What I did was I held on to a winning trade and didn't cut it short, right? If I, you know, the reason or the methodology that I kind of think of is like, okay, this is a good thing, right? This is a good move. Why on earth would I stop it, right? What's the point of stopping a trade going well, right? My intention is to stop a trade that's going poorly, not a trade that's going well. So at this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and mark up structure here. And I'm starting to use I think I like going back to my green and reds. So anyway, comment by the way, if you like the green zones or if you prefer the gray zones. I'm still back and forth about it, but I kind of like the idea of like going green zones when it's in an uptrend, red zones when it's a downtrend. It's purely an aesthetic thing, but I don't know. I've gone back and forth over the years. But anyways, the next thing here is we have another decision point. So previously, remember, we talked about, putting our question mark on the table. Can this market do X or Y? And adjusting accordingly, right? Reacting to the market. And what I have to see next, we've now reached our target, right? Or at least the extremity of where I thought price was likely to make a move higher if we continue to try to trend higher. So we broke out, we continued all the way up. Now the question is, are we going to see a break in continuation? So we could go through our scenarios. Scenario 1 would be the ideal scenario. We get a break, retest of some sort, and we continue. And notably with our retests, we don't really want to see price come back below the lows. If this thing breaks out, right, we really don't want to see it come back underneath there. So we may even stop or trail the stop further. But for now, the other scenario is I don't really want to see this market come underneath this structure here. In fact, if this happens, I'm just going to get out of the trade, right? So scenario 1 is the ideal situation. Scenario 2 is the worst possible situation, which is still not a bad situation, to be honest. And then scenario number 3 is a scenario where I want to make sure I stay in the trade. So let's do this. We'll do in this one, we'll do yellow. Okay, so let's recap. So scenario 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so if scenario 1 happens, then no problem. We'll just continue doing what we've been doing, which is riding a trend and trailing stops. If scenario number 2 happens, I need to stop out, right? Because if this thing fails to hold this structure, that to me would be a go ahead and get out of the trade stanza. So with that said, let's trail that stop. We'll put stops here, and we are going to be locking in officially $296. Sorry, I said that wrong. That'd be a lot of work for $296, though I've been there and that's nothing to make fun of either. But at this point in my trading career, we've been, holding on to a trade like this. Usually that's going to end up being a larger P&L. But anyways, $2,966. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify this trade. There we go. We are updated here. You can see we just placed an order into the broker here, Oanda, to go ahead and trail this stop loss. So if scenario number 2 happens, we are out, right? That would be the kill zone. That would be done with the trade. Now, there is something that I have to add. So context, today is Friday, okay? Friday, what does that mean? It means the weekend is coming. And if the weekend comes, do I want to hold on to this trade? Again, I would have to see scenario 1 or 3 in order for that to keep me in the trade. If this thing breaks back down by any margin underneath this low, I'm out of the trade. I will take my $3,000 profit approximately and move on. But we're floating $3,750. Nick, why don't you just take the profit? Well, remember, I could have done that back here, right? And I would have taken $1,500 profit or whatever. The point is, I'm trailing this stop. I'm giving it the room to have scenario 1 play out. This is the ideal route. If this happens, then excellent. Scenario number 3, also fine with me. If I have to sit through a trade and, let it chop for a little bit before it does continue, I'd be happy with that scenario as well. Now, I should also add that if scenario 1 happens, if we get an extreme break to the upside, I will very likely put my stop underneath this previous high. It's not where we're at yet, but we will be watching for that today. I'll probably check in here a little later today. If this market has broken out, then hey, we're in the next rinse and repeat, right? And this becomes very, very rhythmic. My trading is incredibly rhythmic because I'm just looking at structure. I'm saying, okay, if we break higher, bam, we're going to go ahead and trail stops. If we break lower, we're out, right? And vice versa if I was in a short sell. But that's where we're at the trade. We're floating $3,725. That's a great trade on the account. Very happy with that. Considering, remember, I risked $800. Remember that context is key when we talk about these trades. I risked $800 on this trade. So I'm not out here saying, oh yeah, if you have a $50 account, you can make these sort of profits. I am a believer that to make money in trading, you need to have money and you need to have a trading edge. And the only way you're going to make these sort of returns is if you have a larger capital basis, in my opinion, without gambling on a small account. I'm not a big fan of that. And that's kind of what we preach on the channel over and over. So anyways, What I'm going to do now is I'll pause the video, give it another chance here to make a decision. Can we break past the previous high in yellow? And if so, we'll go ahead and update the trade. If it breaks back the other way, we are out for our profit before the weekend. So really, really good spot to be in, and I'll pause the video. All right, guys, and we are all out of the trade here. We closed out of this account for about 2,950 approximately. We'll pop it up on the screen so you can see it. And in the second account, we took about $400 additional profit on this trade. So between the two accounts, that's somewhere around 3,350 bucks, which is not bad, definitely not complaining. And you can see what really happened here. We actually closed out on this candle after we broke structure. So we're all out of there. And I'm kind of happy to be, considering it looks like this thing has had some real new news or something that's pushed it back down. And so for now, I'm happy to get out of the trade, potentially re-enter later. But for now, that break of structure was enough to go ahead and get me out of the trade, and just made the update inside of the private Discord channel. If you're not already inside of the group, by the way, and you would like to join us, there's a link down below in the description. You can see all the trades I'm taking, like this one and much, much more. I'm coming off of a losing streak with this trade, so this one covered more than my losses by a good bit. So we made some good profit here this week, and that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, it's about making more than you're losing, even if that means sitting through some losing streaks and drawdowns. That's just part of it. So with that said, if you're not already in the group, like I said, join down below in the description. There's a promo code for subscribers. You can join our chat rooms, chat with myself and others. You can see the trades being taken by Patrick, all the other traders that we have inside of our analyst team. We do coaching webinars, put content out, educational material, all sorts of stuff. So if you haven't already joined VIP, click the link down below in the description and come join us. It's a lot of fun in here, and we're trading the markets together. Look at that sell-off. That is crazy. So happy to be out of there. We'll take that before the weekend and go on with our day. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Remember to subscribe, like the video if you haven't already, and see you next time. Looks like it's time for your next trading video. Check out the videos here and here for more free trading content that should help you in your trading journey. We try and keep it real here, so make sure to subscribe for more content that is down to earth, realistic Forex trading content. See you in the next video.